This video is going to be focused on that curiosity theme, where we're going to go real simple question and ask ourselves, what is communication, right? Let's start with our basics here. I talked about taking things for granted. You think, well, obviously it's when I talk, right? I talk and you listen, or I write and you read. And we think of it, I send, someone receives, right? So our default is technically that one-way linear model, right? I say the words, I write the message, I make the post, and that's it. I'm sending out the communication. That's all we consider. That's our baseline very often, right? And then if we really think about it, well, no, I'm not just sending this out to no one. I'm always writing to someone, and oftentimes I'm expecting a reply. So then we think, okay, the next kind of logical step, transactions, kind of going back and forth, right? I give something to you, then we have a conversation, then you reply to me. Transactional, that makes sense. That works for us, but is it really a taking turns? Like, is there a point in a communication where it's just isolated completely you putting your content out there with no other input or thought? I don't really think so, right? At any point, there's a constant dialogue, right? And so that moves us to kind of this dialogic model where communication really never stops, where we're always having a dialogue and communicating with each other. If I'm talking to you and you're saying absolutely nothing, right? So I'm talking right now. If I could see you right now, would you be communicating with me? I would say yes, absolutely, absolutely. Think about it from a speaking perspective. Let's say you're standing in front of a class or team at work. You're sharing an idea. If they're looking at you intently and engaged, nodding their head, they're communicating, right? If they're just wandering off, or they got their phones out and they're like, yeah, this is fascinating. They're communicating. Communication is a constant ongoing process. And that can help us a great deal when we're thinking about how we can be more effective public speakers. We have this baseline. Okay, we adjust our baseline. It's not just linear. It's not just taking turns. It's a constant process. So you know that when you're speaking in front of an audience, you are having a constant exchange, a dialogue. And it helps you in several ways when you start thinking about it like that. First of all, it takes a lot of that pressure off, right? You don't have that pressure where it's just you, everything's you. You want to have the attention, you want to pull in the awareness, but you're always sharing the focus, right? And so you are communicating and they're communicating back, right? So it's not just you all by yourself up there, okay? And you can read, you look at your audience and you see, are they engaged? Are they paying attention, right? Where are they at as I'm sharing this conversation? What are they returning to me, right? What are they giving back to me? It also helps you raise that awareness because all of a sudden you realize when you're in the audience, you're still part of this. You're still part of the communication. It never really stops. It never really stops. One thing I tell students when they come into my class, and it's hard to recreate in an online, right? But they walk in, usually I stand up at the front, and they walk right past where I stand. And I kind of point out as class starts, they have no problem chatting as classes start, talking where they are sitting in their seats. But if we just make them move to the front of the room where they just passed by, they were in that spot. It's not the spot itself. It's the perceived attention. It's this idea that everything's on me. But you're always communicating. You're always sharing. Not much changes, right? And so we think of that, and that can help us. It can help us build our skills, and it can help us relieve some of that pressure. And they can help us train that awareness like I was talking about. So now you're in the audience and you recognize, well, what am I communicating? What are they communicating? That you're always engaging in this process, and it can help you build your skill set more effectively. The most important takeaway, and the main thing you want to consider this concept of a dialogue, is this awareness that there's a lot more that goes in to how effectively we communicate than the exact words we choose. We really get stuck on that. I see people get really stuck on it all the time. And they want to use a script, right? They want to have I need the exact words just right. I need my script just so. If I can impart one piece of wisdom to you this entire semester, it's please practice speaking formally without a script, all right? It is not a useful supporting material if you're not going to be an actor or a politician. And even as a politician, you need a lot more adaptability, right? So if you're not going into acting, that's it. That's really the only time there's other times you want scripts, but for the most part, until you've trained to speak extemporaneously. What that means is to be able to speak knowledgeably outside of context of a preset script, to be able to speak formally on a subject. It doesn't mean you don't prepare. Outlines are great. I'm going to talk about them in the future. You do want organization. You do want structure. That's important. All right. But there's a difference between having a framework. This week's discussion is going to be about communication models. I'm going to go over some basic assumptions of models, and I'm going to end it by talking about why those models matter and how it can improve your speaking skills, right? Basic outline that I'm using right now. Keeps me on track, lets me know what I'm doing, but the exact words I choose, I can share those authentically. And there's such a difference between when we share and speak authentically and naturally, give or take. I don't love the word naturally, but we'll get to that later. Versus I'm now reading to you from a script. Here are the words, and these are the best words. Insert laugh here. Like I cannot communicate how much reading pulls your attention away from your audience and pulls their attention away from you, right? And so because we know this dialogue is always happening, it's always going on, it can help us bring awareness to that. And we'll talk about those in more details, but for now, that's kind of the takeaway. Communication, not just linear, not just taking turns, constantly happening. So work with that, and we'll build on that more later when we talk about managing our stress and anxiety. Have a good day.